It is time for Art in the AM, and we are doing the ABCs of art. If you have been following along, I have been working in this watercolor journal, and I am on the letter V today. And if you saw last week's, it was for the underpainting for the letter U, and I had a lot of comments about that. Some people who tried that, and it was just a fun way to be able to think about how to paint differently by doing an underpainting. Today, with values, I almost didn't do values. I feel like I talk about values a lot, and I almost didn't do it. And then I started thinking about just how important it is, and that if I need to keep repeating about values and teaching values, I'm going to keep doing that. Because I really feel like if you can understand about values, you will improve your artwork, whatever it is that you do. Because values, different values, lights and darks of colors are what create contrast. And they're what draw our eyes to see something. Whether you're creating a painting, a mixed media, watercolor, really any kind of creating anything, like a craft, like anything. And what I'm going to show to you today is probably an idea that I would have taught in my high school class to break down values. And we're just going to be using 4 values today. I'm going to start by using just black and white and creating, and there's 2 values right there, the lightest light and the darkest dark. And I'm going to start with those and just have 4 values to start with there. And I'm probably going to split my paper in half. So I do one side in black and white, and the 4 values. And then I'm going to show you how to kind of translate it into colors. And I think I have enough colors over here on my table to pick out some different colors. I hadn't thought about what colors I want to use for that. But before I get started, I'm going to take a drink of my coffee here. I didn't even bring my water in here at all. My voice is feeling kind of hoarse. I would love to know if you did anything creative over the weekend. If you created, if you saw anything creative, like if you were around creative people, like I would love to know that to start a new month. It's June, like, so happy June. But I would love to know if you did that, and I will tell you what I did. Voice is very hoarse. Every summer here in Cincinnati, we have a big art show, and it has been going on. I think it said it was the 59th year that they've been doing this. And as far as I remember, it's always been in the same location down by the river, and there are hundreds, like literally there were over 300 booths at this art show. And it's called Summer Fair. And I remember going as a kid, and I remember I used to try to go every single year. Some years it's been very rainy, haven't been able to go. I decided on Friday, I didn't really have any appointments, videos, anything that I needed to do, and it opened at noon on Friday. So I decided to go down. Hi, Lori. Lori said that she beaded. She makes awesome beaded everything, earrings, necklaces, a bracelet your friend and your sister. Oh, that is so sweet. That is a fun thing to be able to do and like make for other people, right? So I went down to Summer Fair. Beautiful, beautiful day. And I always look forward to the logo, I guess. They actually have a competition, and you can design the logo, and they choose, from artists. I used to get like the t-shirts because the designs for the logo are always just really fun. So this is the brochure from this one, and look, it has the little car in here and all of the materials, brush, pencil, you know, all the different things in there. And gosh, like crayons and tubes of paint. And then it has the dates on the back of the car. And I just thought that that was so cute. And it says Cincinnati down here at the bottom. And has, even on the license plate, is the year. I just thought that that was so clever. And it has all of the artists listed in here by their medium that they use. I was probably there a couple of hours, and I think that I saw almost all of the 300. And when I left that day, I realized I was not wearing any earrings. So these are the earrings that I got, and they are fused glass. They're so pretty in the light. They like catch the light in different ways, and they are my, you know, pink and purple and kind of blue colors in there. And I was going to shout out the artist that I got them from. She gave me this cute little bag, and her business name is called Through the Fire because they are fired in a kiln. And her name is Shelly Knupp. I don't know if that's how you say it. K-N-U-P-P. But Through the Fire is her business name. And, you know, artists come from all over to this art show. It's a very, like, well attended, and people, you know, do well and sell their art at this one. And I talked to an artist from Chicago. There was somebody from Washington State, apparently. Tennessee, Kentucky, you know, kind of around. I talked to several artists from Michigan that drove that morning to get there several hours and set up and everything. And so, oh, this one actually is in Dayton, Ohio. So that's only about an hour or so away from me. But that is what I got. And it's so much fun to talk to the artists. If you ever go to an art show like that, talk to the artist and strike up a conversation. I talked with one who did clothing, and talked with a painter who I loved her colors that she used, and it's just so much fun to be able to talk directly with the artist who is, you know, creating. Lori, I have no idea what that glass dichroic, I don't even know. So they are fused glass. They are rounded. And then she put the backs on the earrings that like push together. So I'm still kind of like getting used to how they like clip together. So yeah, aren't those pretty? That's my mom that just popped on there. She said that she likes the earrings. So like, I don't have enough earrings, but those I thought were very pretty, and they, you know, just I can really wear those with just about anything. But so I'm going to teach you about values today. And I would love to know in the comments if you would like for your paintings, your artwork, to have more dimension, probably is the right word. Like, you want them to look more realistic. That's probably what I hear most people say. I want my artwork to look more realistic. So I'm going to go ahead and I will show you the little design that I am going to do. And I'm going to, like I said, divide my paper in half here. So I will go ahead and push this down here and make sure that it doesn't fall over. I think my phone that I put in the stand is heavy, and that's why my stand like slides a little bit. Oh my goodness, it's just not going to stay still today. I don't know what that's about. Well, maybe I have it turned down too far. Oh my goodness. Maybe my table is slippery. I might have to get my other stand, which I wasn't prepared to have over here. Wow, I've never had so much problem with my stand not like being still. Maybe if I put, okay, that was really weird. It's like very slippery. Let's see if I can get it to stay there. Okay, I am going to just kind of like draw a line so that I have it divided into two areas. And this is the little design that I'm going to recreate, because this design has a very like a spotlight. I don't know if that's like the, the shadows and everything. There's 4 different values, right? So I can see the white, I can see like the medium kind of value, I can see a little bit darker, and then I can see this black back behind here. So I'm going to show you, and I'm actually going to have a little top section here. That is not divided in half very well with my... Let's see, this is 8.5, so yeah, that's kind of off. I just want it to be a little bit more even. So I saw a few of you saying that you would like for your artwork to be more realistic. I'm gonna give you a sentence. Well, I guess it's a question. I'm gonna give you a question to ask yourself. Instead of saying, what color is this? Like you're looking at something that you want to paint and you say to yourself, what color is this? Instead of that, I want somebody to type this in the comments there. Instead of what color is this, here is the question that I want you to ask yourself, because I had someone comment on a painting that I just did last night. You may have seen me post it on my page here. And it was this painting that I did of our dog Gizmo. And it is watercolor. It's all watercolor. And the eyes I did with a Stabilo pencil. So it's still a water activated pencil, just to define like some of the eyes in there. And I had someone say, you're so good. Like you're so good at creating the portrait. I've never painted Gizmo before. I've used watercolors, but not exactly in this way. And I've never done kind of like this blue in here. However, I have trained myself to see values and to see value changes. So I had a photo that I was referring to, and I didn't really focus on, I'm trying to create Gizmo, right? I just looked at a section. So I would look at this little section here, and I would look to see where the lights were and where the darks were. And with watercolor, you kind of build up the dark values. So I kind of started with the lighter, just kind of a wash of that blue, really is what I started with. And I just kind of started building up. And the very last layer that I put on there was the darkest dark. So the contrast is what I told that person who made the comment. I said, I just have trained myself to look at values. And you can see like the lightest value here next to this really dark, it creates this contrast, and your eye really kind of goes, mine kind of goes to this whole area where there's light, and especially kind of like right in here where there's the light next to the really dark. And that is what you need to do to make your things, your artwork, look more realistic. So here's the question, if I didn't say it before. Don't ask yourself, what color is this? Because in my photo, there is no blue. There is no blue in the photo, but yet it works in this that I recreated because the value is right. So here's the question that you ask yourself, not what color something is, what value is it? What value do I see there? So in this area right here where it's really dark, if I wanted to, and I'll show you how to go from like a black and white to color over here, that could be any color that I wanted it to be. So it's not about the color that I see, it's about the value. So if I wanted to do a really dark purple there, if I wanted to do a really dark red there, any of those colors would work, because if it's a dark value, that's what you want there. And that's why that blue works in areas, because it was just kind of a light wash and I built up some of the areas of the blue. And with the black in areas, the brown, the tan, you know, all of those, and especially like in his nose kind of area, it's just a lighter value in there. I could have done any color that I wanted in there as long as the value was right. And if you feel like your artwork is very flat, it's probably because, I think I got out my color wheel, it's probably because you're only using like one value, right? So this color wheel has the whole value scale from white over here, and it goes all the way around to black. So it has, I think, 10. Yeah, so there's 5 over here and then 5 over here of the darker values. So probably if you have something you've created that's really flat, you're probably just only using values or colors that are just these medium values. You need some white highlights, some lighter areas, and you probably need some darker areas. And it doesn't have to be black, just a darker valued color. So with all of that, I'm going to go ahead and show you on this one, just with 4 values, how you can create something that looks more realistic. So I'm going to draw these 3 shapes on here. And yes, I'm working upside down so that you can see what it is that I'm doing. I have this circle over here, and I think I'm going to trace a circle just so that I have like a nice shape there. So let's see if I can get, that's a pretty good circle there. It's going to be much bigger than I thought. So this is probably going to be a little shorter. And I could use a ruler. I'm just going to and you probably won't even be able to see these lines until I add some color on there. So it's not going to look exactly like the picture because I made my circle too big. Whenever I'm doing something like this, I focus on what it is that I'm doing. So if I kind of trail off and don't say anything, that is why. If you've ever watched me draw on one of my videos, I definitely just, and that's why I have to kind of focus on what I'm doing here. Just like I would if I was, you know, drawing a whole picture. I'm kind of drawing in a couple of the shadows just so that I kind of know where they go. And I kind of drew in like a table line. And like I said, you will be able to see that more when I start painting a bit in. So I have my little palette over here, and up here, what I'm going to do is have my 4 values. So I just put like 4 blocks. So I just have like 4 blocks right in here. And I am using Anita's. I like Anita's black. Deco Art makes a good black. Definitely if you use nicer paints, you would, Golden or Liquitex or something like that, you'll get a nice black. So this is my darkest dark value. And then I have my white. And this is the Crafters Collection that you can get from Hobby Lobby. And I'm going to go ahead and mix up the other 2 values. And I a lot of times mix with my paintbrush, but I'm going to, I have like this little silicone spatula thing. I'm going to mix it up with that just so I'm not getting a lot of paint in my paintbrush. So this one's going to be a darker, so I have a lot of black. This is probably even too much black for that lighter value that I want to do. Because black is very intense, right? It will change a color pretty quickly. I was asking at the beginning of the video what you did over the weekend that was creative. And I was saying that I went on Friday to Summer Fair, and I remember going to Summer Fair when I was, I feel like pretty young. If it's been going on for 59 years, I probably didn't go I couldn't have gone the very first year because I'm not even 59 yet, but we probably didn't go until a little bit later. I still have a lot of paint on that silicone. So that's my medium kind of value there. Well, my second value. And then I'm just going to have a little bit of white in this one. And then I will show you how you can do the very same thing in using colors. So like I had told my friend when I made the comment, if you can learn, because I feel like it's just a learned skill to learn to see values. So if you're trying to, look at a painting, it's not about that you have like a reference and you're trying to copy it. You're trying to interpret it. So if you were doing a painting of flowers, you wouldn't have to do the same color flowers, but if you wanted the same look, I don't know if that's going to be quite enough paint, but I have the white, a lighter value, a darker value, and black. So these are my 4 values, and I'm going to, I'll see if that's enough paint. I don't know. I'm going to paint it in these little boxes so that you can see. I'm going to use my bigger paintbrush. So I'll start with white over here. My pad of paper is pretty white, but I still wanted to have the light value in there. And I'm going to go ahead and paint the areas on this picture that are the white. Which, if I'm looking, it is this part, right, where the light's shining on it, and it's the top part of the box, and then I see a little bit kind of right in there, and then on the circle, kind of like right up in there too. So there's There's basically like 4 places, but I'm going to go ahead and paint it in there, even though my paper is white. Oh, and then this top part up in here too. Really the underpainting that I did last week, it was about seeing values too. So if you're ever using an underpainting, basically what you're doing is looking at the values and getting those down on there. You know, actually, like last week I did just kind of like one underpainting, but a lot of people say if they're doing a face, they'll start with the underpainting and then they will take that same color with a little bit more paint and less water, and they'll start building in the values. So I'll have a little bit on this circle here. Okay, and then I'm going to come into the medium value. So I'm going to go ahead and wash off my paintbrush. When I'm painting like this with acrylic paints, I will go both ways. Sometimes I'll start with the whites or the lighter values and work dark. Sometimes I'll start with the darker values and work light. I don't know if there's like a right or wrong way to that. So here is the second value, and now that I'm painting it on here, it could actually be a lot lighter, but we'll go with this. Okay, and then this lighter value, I see a lot of times it's right next to the white. So I kind of see it in this center area here. I see a little bit in the circle. This is that kind of medium value. And really the table. These are a little bit different here. Well, I'm going to go with that. It looks much lighter on the plate over there. So I'm going to do a little bit kind of right in here. If I had more values, I would definitely, you know, break this down even more on the cylinder, but I'm just going to do these 4 values in here. And so I have one on this circle. This is a watercolor paper that I'm using, so it's really like absorbing up the paint. And then I see a little bit on the top part of the cylinder because it's not white. And I'll do the table down here. I definitely could have done a lighter value for the second one. I added a little bit of water to it because the paint is really thick, especially the white, the Crafters collection paint. I feel like is a pretty good thick paint. And then I'll still have for the shadow in there too. Oh, I kind of lost my line down on the bottom here. And then I'm going to go ahead and do this side of the box here too. So when you are trying to do a painting and you have a reference and you're looking at it, don't be too concerned about the colors that you pick as much as the values. If you're trying to, change the colors of the flowers and you want to make them your own flowers, then you can use different colors, but just make sure it is the same value. I'm going to come in and do the next darkest. All of this back in here is the black, right? And I have a little bit of the black shadow right here because you completely lose the edge of that cylinder there. All of the shadows, I'm going to do black. So this side of the circle isn't necessarily this dark value, but since I am just working with the 4 different values, just to show you how you can start to make something look rounded like that. If I was wanting to paint it and have it blend, basically I would just have more values in between there. So it's not even about blending the paint with my brush. It's just about I would need to put more values in there so it transitions better, right? And then I'm going to have a little bit on the cylinder here. And if I had more values, I could even break up in this little area of the cube in there. I think I'm also going to put this darker value in this part of the shadow. And this part right in here is the other part of the table, and it is also in shadow. Oh, I didn't put my value up here either. There is an area right here. I dipped my brush just a little bit in water because the paint's just really thick. Okay, let me see if I can get enough of this paint in here. So when you see me doing my portraits or any kind of paintings for my events, things like that, and you're looking at it thinking, well, you're just really good at that, like my friend had said. Think about, I have just practiced a lot of looking at values and practicing, and like really just practicing. I'm not going to wash out my paintbrush for this last value, but I am just going to wipe it off on my paper towel. I don't want to get a whole lot of it into my water. Okay, and then this is my 4th value. This paint is a lot thinner, so it flows a little bit easier. I think it was the white paint that is a little bit thicker. I can already tell I'm going to have extra black paint, so I will make a page of some leftover black paint and make some marks on it so I can be able to use that. Okay, so for the black value, it's definitely all of this background here. I'm going to do a little bit of darker here on the cylinder and then the shadows. And I think you'll be able to see, especially in the cylinder, how even just with 4 different values, it starts to look like a cylinder. It starts to look more realistic. It looks like it has more shape to it. I could definitely use a smaller paintbrush. I tend to try to keep the same paintbrush in my hand as long as I can. So I end up just kind of like using the little tip of the paintbrush. But that is my encouragement for you today. If you are wanting to look, have something look more realistic, make sure that you at least have 4 values. You have some whites or light values, a light color, and you have some darks, a black. And then you have at least 2 different values. Whenever you paint just something all one color, it's going to look flat because objects, 3-dimensional things, just like this sphere and the cylinder and this cube, they have dimension. They're not flat. They actually take up space. And to make them look like they take up space, you have to have different values. You have to have values that create a contrast. And when I was looking at that painting or that picture of Gizmo, that's what I was looking at. I was just looking at the changes in values and just adjusting those. And sometimes you have to kind of like back away from it to be able to really see if you're getting those values, or sometimes I'll take a photo. Do you ever do that? Do you take a photo of your painting so you can see, where you might need to adjust something? That really helps because what that does is it flattens things for you. It shows you kind of reverse of what you're seeing, right? When you're so close down on it, it's hard. And taking a photo helps you to, it's the same as if I hold up a painting farther away from somebody. Like, this is how you actually see it. You don't see it up close the way that you do when you're painting. Your paintings are going to be like hanging on a wall, and that's more the distance that you see things is from farther away like that. And you can see by putting in the black in here, because there's the contrast, that really popped this cylinder, the sphere, because now I'm over here by the cylinder. And it made that stand out. Why? Because there's the contrast of the white and the black. So that's going to be the greatest contrast, is your darkest darks and your lightest lights right next to each other. I'm trying to leave a little bit of space beside that little grid that I did at the top there, just so that I don't lose that in there. Oh, I almost painted into that white right there. And I'll show you a couple places where if I had more values, I would probably add in. But for the purposes of just having 4 values, that's why I just kept it like it was here. Okay. So if I look at what I did over here, just the 4 values, if I had more, I would, make this transition smoother than this is here. But I want you to look at, even just with these 4 values, how that makes that cylinder, make it look like it's rounded, right? Whereas if I would have painted that all white, it wouldn't have looked rounded. And even this cube, rectangle, that I have in here, these two are very close, and you can't really see the edge right there of that cube because these 2 values are the same. I can see that line there because I've got the white next to this, lighter, more medium kind of value in there. And the same with like the top and so you can see those edges because the values are different. And that's because the light's coming from this side, and so this would be in shadow, right? These 3 objects are all white objects, right? This sphere is just a white ball. This is an all-white cube. This is an all-white cylinder. But because of where the light is and how it's hitting, that's why this is in shadow. And so that's why you can't really tell yourself what color is that, right? You want to ask yourself, what value is it? And because this is the shadow, it's a darker value. The same with the sphere here. It's rounded, which means that this area over on this side, and I made it even darker in here, is going to be dark because it's away from the light. The light's not hitting it, and it's rounded, and so that's why it's darker over there. The same with this cylinder over here. It's darker where the light's not hitting it because it's rounded, because it has shape to it, because it's 3-dimensional. Over here, I'm going to draw the same 3 objects, and what I'm going to do is pick colors. So I want to pick out the colors that I'm going to use just with these 4 values so that you can kind of see how I would pick those, how I would pick a light, a lighter, well, a really light, a lighter, a medium, and then a dark. So if I look at my paints over here, I really like fluorescent pink. So that's going to be my lightest value. And then for a medium value, I think I will use this sour apple. Now, probably these 2 are very similar. So probably what I'm going to do is mix white with this, what is this? Fluorescent. It's a fluorescent color, actually. Neon pink, rose fluorescent. It has 2 colors, 2 names on there. So I'm going to add white to this one. So it's a lighter value. And then I'm going to do this green. For a darker value paint, I think I'm going to do I only have so many paints over here, so I'm kind of like looking through, seeing what might work. So I think I might use this one. To me, it is a darker value, but I'm going to show you what I'm going to do because now I still want one more dark value. And I think that I'm going to use this purple. So let me show you the 4 colors that I have here. So I'm going to add white to this one because right now all 4 of these paints are about the same value. So I'm going to add white to this one. I'm going to use that one as my lighter value. And with this blue, probably what I'm going to do is add a little bit of the purple to it and darken it up. And I may even add a little bit of black to this purple so that I have 4 different values. So those are the 4 that I'm going to use. I will draw that same picture over here and just use those 4 values. I'm not going to mix up the colors right now because then they will dry out. But I will have, because I'm not going to paint them right now, but I'll have the light pink, the green, a darker blue, and then a dark purple over here. So those are the 4 that I'll use. And I will paint it in the same way, just with those 4 values, so you can see how you can translate these 4 values, a white, a medium, well, a white, a light, a medium, and a dark, or basically the 4 different values, and how I can translate it over here with colors. You can pick whatever 4 colors you want. That's why I said the question to ask yourself is not what color it is, but what value it is. So I know that I want a light value with the pink, so I'm going to add white to it, make it lighter, make it a lighter value. And I can use, a color wheel. You can print out a value scale that has 10, so if I wanted to kind of compare it to a white, it'd probably be more kind of like this lighter value, just kind of like right in here. Then I could, I could hold it up next to that value and kind of be able to see. If you don't have a color wheel like this, I do believe that I have this one in my Amazon shop. If you want a color wheel like this so that you can, kind of just see all the different color combinations and things like that, it's really helpful to be able to, it even has, if you add white and if you add black to the color, like what the value would be in there. But I believe it's in my Amazon shop, so you could, if you don't have a color wheel like that. I hope that helps you to be able to see that values are really what help you to make something look more three-dimensional. If you want it to look more realistic, look at your paintings and see if you just have a solid color and you don't have any lights or darks, you probably just need to, sometimes you need to exaggerate the values that you might see so that they read, more like the lights and the darks. So the painting that I showed you that I did of Gizmo in, like around the eyes, especially in here, that blue, there wasn't as much of that light around the eye, but I really wanted the eye to show up more. And especially in the nose, kind of like right here too. I really couldn't see that much of a definition around the nostril, but if I didn't have at least a little bit of that brown kind of in there and a little bit kind of around in here, I would have lost the nostrils. So I had to kind of exaggerate a little bit, or, just change a little bit of what I wanted, like what I saw on the picture, so that it would read as the values that I wanted it to be. So I hope that this was at least something for you to kind of think about when you are painting, that if you want something to look more realistic, more rounded, like it takes up space, it's three-dimensional, you probably just need to add some more values. So look for this finished one where I'll have the 4 colors over here that I'll do later on today, and I will post it here on my page. And thanks. Thanks for showing up and being interested in learning a little bit more each week using the ABCs of art. And when I get to the letter Z in a couple weeks, I will start over. I have a whole new list of ABC words for the second half of the year to go through the ABCs. And remember, if you would like to watch the replay of this, or if you ever want to catch the replay if you missed it live, probably the best way, the easiest way to find it is over on my YouTube channel. And you can go over there. It is underneath my name. And if you need that, you can just like put a comment in put a comment here, and I will make sure and get that link for you to my YouTube channel, because I have a playlist over there of all of the videos of the ABCs of art. So you can just, kind of like binge watch them over there and be able to watch the replay easier. And what I like about YouTube is I can control the speed of how I watch the video too. And so that helps me to be able to maybe watch on a little faster speed so I can, you know, watch the video quicker on replay than I could if I was watching live. So anyway, I hope you have a great first day of June, and thanks for stopping by this week for the letter V, all the way up to the letter V for the ABCs of art. And I will see you next week at 10:30 a.m. Eastern for the letter W. Have to go through the ABCs. Yes, the letter W. That'll be next week. So I'll see you then.